Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my craft room. It's Slow Stitch Sunday, so we're going to be working on our floral heart embroidery pattern that can be found it's a free pattern that's on Cutesy Crafts. I've worked on it a little bit since we've last spoke. I thought today we would go ahead and work on this. This is the same as the ones over here. It's a woven wheel flower. We're going to use 6 strands. And I decided to work on this one here. It has a leaf that's coming out underneath it. Now sometimes you can do it before the leaf or after. I've tried it doing it after the leaf, so this time I'm going to try doing it before and just see how that works out that way. I've already gone ahead and made a small orange one, and then I've made a multicolored one here. The way you can do this is you can use just one strand like I did, one color like I did here with the 6 strands of floss, which is the orange, or you can use multiple. I have a dark purple, a medium pink, and a light pink. Now for this one here, I'm going to use this floss from Anchor. It's number 1211, and as you can see, it's a variegated blue. It just changes color just a little bit. It has very long stretches of color, so it's when you're doing like maybe cross stitch, it might not be as noticeable in a small space, but we should be able to see the color changes within our wagon wheel flower here. Now as you can see, I don't have my practice hoop over here. I feel it's probably going to be easier just for us to do it once and see it right on here because it's going to be the same, and it's a pretty decent size flower that we're going to work on. Winter has finally arrived here in Florida, so I had to bring in I brought in a nice little bright light over here to help. Hopefully if I notice it's creating too many shadows, I'll just rearrange things. But I'm hoping it's going to help us see this a little bit better than without it. Now when you're looking at the design on the pattern, you can see that it's basically a circle, and this one has 5 little spokes going into the center. To be able to make a woven flower, we're going to have an odd number of spokes. So if you have a smaller flower, now this designer used 5, whether it's a small, medium, or large flower, you can choose to go ahead and drop down to 3 for a smaller flower, and maybe 5 for a medium, and 7 to 9, or even 11 for a larger one. It all depends on the size, and it's one of those things where you might want to practice it on a scrap design piece of fabric to see how you like it, and if you want it woven with more of the wheels, the spokes of the wheel, or if you want to just stick with the lesser number. This designer seems to like to use 5 for everything. For most of the designs I've seen, she always uses 5 spokes. So we're going to stick with hers since she knows what she's doing, and we're going to make it with 5. So if you were designing your own pattern and you wanted to make this woven wheel flower, what you would start is, you'd start out with your circle. So whatever design you're going to use for a circle, whether you have a circle template or you're simply going to use a penny, dime, nickel, $50, quarter, whichever one you choose, you start with the actual circle. And then you go ahead and draw in your spokes. Now I'm going to start it out by just weaving my end underneath this little stem that's next to it, so we don't have to worry about catching our thread anywhere. I've started adding this just to go through the loop and just add a simple little knot when I'm trying to secure my ends now. It's not a big knot like you would put at the end of your floss, but it just seems to hold it down nicely, and I don't have to worry about that tail end pulling through. And I don't have this hooked into my stand at all because I'm going to want to turn my hoop around as I'm doing the weaving. I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to start just by making my spokes. Just means coming up at the center and then going down just on the outside or right on your line. When we're doing our flower, we're going to make sure that we're weaving it all the way around to where you don't see any of your line around there. So as you see, there's no blue ink sticking out here. This one I might see just a little bit there, but that's going to be covered up. Plus it's going to be disappeared once I hit it with some steam. Because remember, I'm using the Friction pen, and it's going to make, with heat, it disappears. I'm using all 6 strands of floss, And then I'm just going to, once again, I'm going to go up really close to where I went up when I came out with this one, but a little bit next to it so it's not in the same exact hole. And I'm just going to go ahead and trace all my petals, or my spokes, I'm sorry. These spokes are what we're going to be weaving under and over. And it's going to give us, it's sort of almost like a rose look. I did the spokes on this flower with the dark purple. I was a little concerned that maybe it would show through with the lighter color on the outside. But I don't notice that I could see it anywhere because of the way you're going over and under all the way around. It covers everything up. But if you were concerned, you can go ahead and use either the identical color. If you knew you were going to be going 3 colors like this, you could start it out with just this light pale color if you'd like, and then fasten it off, and then start in with the center with the dark color. And then you wouldn't have to worry about any of the colors showing through. Okay, now there's all 5 of my spokes that are all done. Then I'm going to come back up close to the center. Pull my floss all the way through. Then I'm just going to start the weaving process. I'm going to go over the first one and under the next spoke. Then I can go ahead and turn my hoop a little. It makes it easier in the beginning. Now since I went under this one, I'm going to go over this one, over the next, and then under. And I'm just going to make sure that I don't go up through the hoop that's getting, the loop of thread that's getting there. I wouldn't want to catch this loop anywhere like that. So I want to just make sure it lays nice and flat. I'm going to give it a little bit of a firm tug, but I'm not going to yank on it. So I'm over and then under. Spin my hoop a little bit. And that is the whole process that you're doing here. You're just going over and under and over and under. So I'm under. Oops. I'm under, so I'm over. Then I'm going to skip this one and go under that one. I'm laying it on top of this one, so I'm going to skip it and go under the next. I'm under, so over and under. See how it goes over it and then under the next. And that's all that is. It's going to just keep building up your floss as you're going round and round. The orange one is a smaller one, so it didn't get very tall in height. This one was largest, so it got a little bit of a height to it because you're just constantly building up your floss and adding to what's already there. So now if you wanted to stop here and have a dark center and then switch colors, after you go, I would go over this one, and then when I get ready to go under it, I would just go ahead and bring my floss all the way to the back. And then you can anchor it off there. So then when you're starting up again, since this one was over, that one would be under, so I would come up right after that spoke there, because that's my under one. And then I would just continue on. I would go over this one and under this one. I still start with the same, about an arm's length of floss, because it's really easy to add new floss on. You don't have to actually cut it super long so it makes the whole entire flower. If I stop, I can just see that I went under that one, so I'm going to go over this one and under the next. When I'm doing it, sometimes I do the over under in my head, and other times I just think, okay, I came out, so I'm just going to skip one. So I'm only thinking about going under. Skip, under, skip, under. You just want to make sure when you're going under that you're not accidentally going under two of them. So you want to make sure you're only going under the one. This tends to get, sometimes it gets a little bit boring because it does take quite a bit of time to, well, okay, compared to just finishing off one of these leaves, it does take a little bit of time to work the entire flower. Plus you're just going over and under, sometimes it just gets a little boring. This is a good time to be watching YouTube, listening to music. Hallmark's got all their Christmas movies coming out, so that's a good way to keep yourself occupied while you're doing this. And if it's easier, you can spin your hoop each time, so you're not doing anything strange with your wrist, and that way you're not causing any extra stress on any body parts. Now, as you can see, this is not quite in the center. This is more growing more towards this way, and it's okay. It's just because when the diagram was drawn, all the spokes, if they don't come directly to the center, your flower is going to be a little bit uneven. But once again, it's a flower, and the flowers in nature, they're not naturally perfect. I'm sure there are some out there that look perfect. But we're just going to keep going around, and our goal is to make it all the way out to the edge here so that we cover that outer circle. We want to make sure all of our spokes are covered, and we don't see that drawn circle that's the outside edge. And since we're not perfectly even and directly in the center there, as we get going, there's going to be times where we're not going to actually see where these spokes are. We're going to have to start guessing, because we're getting awfully close to the edge here. And it may come a time where we have all this extra here and not as much there, so our spokes are starting to disappear. But we know where they are. We can tell by looking at just the way the rose is being woven. And when you put your needle underneath, you can feel it. Like this one here, we're not seeing as much, but when I put my needle under, I can feel that it's stopping me from going all the way out, so that I know it's there. I've seen some people where they stop working at the section that it's already covered, and they just solely work in the area that needs the extra to cover up the outside edge. But I kind of like to just keep going. The rose itself will stay round even though the center is a little bit off. And now I'm coming to the end of my floss, so I'm just going to go over this one, and I'm just going to go straight down about in the center. I don't think it really matters exactly where you do it. It would be going under this little spoke anyway, so I'm just going to go down, and then I'll end this floss. Just once again, I'm going to end the floss by going under a few of these. Trim off my tail. Then I'll just start a new piece. I don't have as much to go, so maybe I might not need to pull as much. I might not need the whole shoulder length. Now I can choose to have it, because I'm in this medium to dark color, and that's this one at this end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the opposite end onto my needle, and that way when I start back up, it's basically going to start right back to where it finished, except for the little bit to where I am weaving it underneath the start tail and the end tail. Now I believe I ended somewhere over here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and I can see right here that this was an over, so I'm going to start it right about here just so I get more added on here, and that'll hopefully even it out just a little bit. I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't have to even it out, but since I'm starting a new floss, I may as well go ahead and give it a try. And then I'm just going to go right back into the same process. And you see we cannot see this one very easily. I can kind of see it pulling up on the fabric there. As you're doing it, you will be able to feel it. Now this section is all covered up, and if you want to just have the couple more rounds here, I'll show you how. We're just going to go, see we came under, so we'll go over and under. And then we can go ahead and backtrack this way instead of going all the way around. And we'll go under, come back around. And you're just going to build up that side by going over and under just a little bit more than around the other edge. I'll just finish it off. And there you go, you have a variegated blue flower. So that's all you have to do for the woven wagon wheel. What are they calling it? The woven wheel flower. It just reminds me of a wagon wheel because, I mean, that's what it is. It's the round circle with the spokes. So it looks like a really complicated flower in the design, but it gives you that nice bit. It sticks up a little bit, so you have a little bit more height here compared to the rest of them are a little bit lower. Just add some dimension to your project. You can add as few or as many as you want. If you didn't want to do those, if you purchase a pattern to get a free one that has it and you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and just fill it in a satin stitch. I'm going to show you how to do a round satin stitch here, and you can use that in place of that. So we're going to go ahead and we'll work on that next week. And then the only thing else we have left is to do our leaves. So thank you for hanging out with me in my craft room while I do a little bit of hand embroidery. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.